You know that strange moment when the world shifts beneath your feet, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in eerie silence, like the floors just disappeared and you're left floating for a second before the fall. That was me, last Thursday morning. 50 years old, sitting alone in my condo in Seattle, staring down at a single text from my wife that cracked open everything I thought I knew. "I'm leaving," the message read. "I met someone younger and better than you." Attached was a screenshot of a bank transaction, our joint savings, the entire thing, wired into her personal account. I set the phone down next to my half-finished coffee, the steam still curling up like nothing had changed. It was the quiet that got me. No yelling. No big confrontation. Just a few sentences and a button click, and 18 years of marriage evaporated. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, sipping coffee that suddenly tasted cold and bitter, staring at a photo of us on the side table. We were smiling, her hand on my chest, my arm around her waist, taken during a trip to Napa. I remember thinking back then that we'd made it. Good house, stable careers, a future we could count on. I thought we were happy. Looking back, maybe that was the problem. I thought. Lisa had always been ambitious. When we met, she was sharp and driven, already making waves in her marketing firm. I admired that about her. She matched my energy, my hunger to build something lasting. But over the past couple of years, things started to shift. Slowly at first, so subtle you could almost miss it if you weren't paying attention. She started spending more time at the gym. Signed up for yoga retreats and wellness weekends. Bought a new wardrobe, sleek, modern, expensive. She said it was about finding herself again, getting back in touch with the version of her that existed before the mortgage, before the long hours and work stress. I wanted to support her, and honestly, I didn't think twice when she said she was going to Colorado for a restorative mountain retreat. What a joke that turned out to be. In the weeks leading up to this, I don't even know what to call it yet, betrayal. Collapse, there were signs. Password reset emails I never initiated. Questions about our investment accounts. She'd start phone calls and wander off to another room, always a little too quickly. I saw the shift. I felt it. But I didn't press her. Maybe part of me didn't want to believe what I already knew deep down. But I wasn't completely blind. Years ago, during a stressful financial quarter, I had a hunch that if anything were to ever happen, financially or otherwise, I'd need a contingency. So I quietly built a safety net. Separate account. Documentation trails. Password-protected files. I never thought I'd need them, but old habits die hard when you're a financial consultant. So when that text came in, I didn't collapse. I went into work mode. The first thing I did, before even responding to her, was log into our bank and start freezing everything. The joint accounts, credit cards, investment portfolios. I triggered alerts, flagged the transfer, and got on a call with my bank rep. I told them it was a fraudulent transaction made under duress. Whether it would stick, I didn't know yet. But I was buying myself time. Then I called David, my younger brother. He used to be in law enforcement before shifting into corporate security consulting. I didn't need sympathy, I needed intel. I gave him one name, Tim Roach. Tim was a personal trainer at the fancy gym Lisa joined last year. I'd met him once, briefly. Younger guy, all muscle, flash, and charm. Something about him never sat right with me. Lisa had brought him up a few times, always too casually. Tim recommended this protein shake, or, Tim says yoga's overrated. It seemed harmless, until it didn't. David called me back that night with a voice that said it all before he even spoke. "Mike, this guy's got red flags all over the place. Bankrupt twice. A trail of ex-clients and debt collectors. He's got a private LLC he opened 6 months ago, it's hemorrhaging money. Guess whose name is on the cosigner line for the business credit account?" He didn't even have to say it. Lisa. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling for a long time, the weight of it pressing down on my chest. This wasn't just infidelity. It wasn't just her falling for some younger guy who made her feel 25 again. She had funneled our savings, our future, into this man's sinking ship of a business. This was betrayal on a level I hadn't even imagined. I thought I knew my wife. I was wrong. The thing is, betrayal doesn't hit you all at once. It trickles in. Little signs. Offhand comments. A look that lingers too long on a stranger. Then one day, you realize the person sleeping next to you isn't just a stranger, they're a stranger who's been living a double life in plain sight, and you missed it. I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. Not the text. Not the money. Not even Tim Roach's smug Instagram posts flexing in rented sports cars. No, what haunted me were all the tiny moments I let slide. Like how Lisa used to kiss me goodbye in the mornings. Not just a peck, a real kiss, the kind you feel in your chest for the next few hours. Then, one day, it turned into a quick tap on the cheek. Eventually, it was just a wave from the hallway. I chalked it up to routine. 18 years together, I figured some things just faded with time. But it wasn't time. It was distance. Real, intentional distance. And I let it grow. She'd started going to fitness boot camps on weekends. At first, I was proud of her. She looked great, had more energy, even smiled more, at least for a while. But then it started to feel like she was smiling at someone else, not me. She said she was going on girls' trips more often. Napa, Sedona, Denver. Just for the weekend, she'd say, like it was nothing. But her trip started falling on dates we used to mark off the calendar, our anniversary, the weekend of my firm's retreat, even my birthday once. I should have asked more questions. I should have demanded more answers. But I didn't. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself a lot of lies. The truth? I'd been drifting, too. I buried myself in work. Clients, meetings, spreadsheets, they made sense. Marriage? That was Messier. So I threw myself into what I understood, and let Lisa drift wherever she wanted. I thought we were just in a rough patch. I figured she'd come back. She didn't. Instead, she spent months turning our shared life into a platform to build someone else's. David kept feeding me pieces of the puzzle. Tim's gym wasn't just tanking, it was a front. Lisa had signed off as a silent investor on his second LLC, a supplement brand that didn't even have FDA clearance. She'd redirected over $60,000 into it from an account we had reserved for home renovations. When I asked David how she did it without me noticing, he paused. She's been preparing this for months, he said quietly. Fake invoices, disguised transfers through Venmo, backdated consulting contracts. Honestly? It's impressive, in a twisted, criminal kind of way. That hit me hard. Lisa wasn't just cheating. She was strategizing. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized she must have known I'd fight back. That's why she sent that text from Colorado, assuming I wouldn't check the accounts until it was too late, assuming I'd sit there stunned, sipping my damn coffee while she drained everything we'd built. But I wasn't the man she remembered. Not anymore. By the next day, I had lawyers lined up. I picked a firm that specialized in high-asset divorces and fraud cases. I forwarded every document David found, every suspicious transaction, every trace of Lisa's connection to Tim. The lawyer, an older woman named Janice with eyes like a hawk, skimmed the file in silence and then said, "We'll take her apart brick by brick. This won't be cheap, but it will be clean." That was enough for me. The real kicker came when I logged into our cloud drive to pull up old tax records. That's when I noticed something strange. A folder labeled Vacation 2023, but when I opened it, it wasn't photos of Aspen or spa treatments. It was scanned documents. Contracts. Tim's gym lease. His LLC paperwork. Notes in Lisa's handwriting that read like business plans, using our money. There was even a screenshot of a text she sent to someone named Babe Redheart that read, "It's almost done. By next week, we'll be out and free. I'll make sure he doesn't see it coming." I closed the laptop and just sat there. Out and free. Like I was a prison. Like our life together was something she had to escape. I didn't rage. I didn't flip the table or throw the laptop across the room. I just sat there and stared at the screen, my chest hollow, the silence pressing in on all sides. Somewhere between the betrayal and the planning and the lies, I had become a villain in someone else's story. But that's the thing about villains. Sometimes, we know how to fight back. There's a kind of clarity that only comes after total destruction. It's strange, you'd think I'd be broken, unraveling, lashing out at the walls, pacing the floors. But I wasn't. After I saw the text, the money, the documents, something in me locked into place. All the fog of the past year burned off like morning mist. I could see everything, and more importantly, I could see her for who she really was. This wasn't just betrayal. It was premeditated. It was methodical. And that meant I didn't have the luxury of grief. I had to be smarter. Colder. Sharper. Lisa made her move. Now it was my turn. I started by pulling together every piece of financial documentation I could get my hands on. Bank statements, tax returns, emails, contracts. Anything that had both our names on it went into a folder marked, War. My attorney, Janice, told me we needed proof of misuse, not just suspicion. Thanks to my brother David, I already had more than enough. David dug up everything on Tim Roach that wasn't nailed down. The guy was a financial disaster in gym shorts. He had a trail of failed businesses, unpaid taxes, and a history of manipulating older clients, mostly women, into investing in his ventures. And Lisa? She wasn't just his latest victim. She was his sponsor. She was the bankroll. I couldn't believe how far she'd gone. Over $150,000 in hidden transfers. That was money meant for our future, retirement, emergencies, the life we said we'd build. Instead, she was footing the bill for a guy whose idea of business strategy was protein powder and vibes. I wasn't about to sit quietly while she and her new, better man bled me dry. So I froze everything. I called every bank, every credit union, every investment firm. I triggered fraud alerts, set hard locks on withdrawals, and filed formal disputes on every suspicious transaction. The moment she tried to access anything else in our joint accounts, it would trigger a legal flag. The next thing I did. I sent her one message. Short. Precise. All accounts frozen. Legal proceedings initiated. You'll be contacted by my attorney. That was it. No emotion. No begging. Just fact. She tried calling me 4 times that night. I didn't answer. I didn't even listen to the voicemails. I didn't need to hear her excuses or sob stories. She made her decision. Now she could sit with it. But she didn't stay quiet for long. The next morning, she showed up at the condo. I heard the knock while I was pouring my coffee. My first instinct was to ignore it. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door to find her standing there in yoga pants and a windbreaker, like it was just another Tuesday. No makeup. No luggage. Just her and this fake look of concern smeared across her face. "Mike," she said softly, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. "Please. Can we talk?" I leaned against the doorway. "About what?" Her eyes flicked down, searching for some kind of angle. I think there's been a misunderstanding." I laughed. I didn't mean to, it just came out, dry and bitter. "Which part?" The stealing or the lying? She blinked, caught off guard. I didn't steal anything, Mike. I just moved some things around. I cut her off. No. You didn't just move things. You emptied our accounts and funded your boyfriend's garbage fire of a business. You forged my signature. You lied to my face for months. You don't get to spin this. Her voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Tim, he told me we were building something. I thought I was doing the right thing. For who? I asked. She didn't answer. I stepped aside and motioned toward the hallway behind me. Your stuff's not here. I put everything of yours in storage. The code's in your inbox. You won't find anything sentimental. You forfeited that. Her lip quivered, and for a second, I saw the real her. Not the woman she tried to be for Tim. Not the confident schemer who'd sent that text. Just someone who realized, too late, that her parachute was packed with bricks. I didn't want it to end this way, she whispered. I stared at her. Neither did I. Then I shut the door. I stood there for a while, hand on the knob, heart hammering in my chest. I thought I'd feel something more, rage, triumph, sadness. But all I felt was, done. Like a chapter had finally snapped shut. The next few days were chaos, legally speaking. Janice filed for divorce under grounds of financial misconduct and fraud. We moved fast. The court granted an emergency freeze on all joint marital assets, and a forensic accountant started tracing every last dollar she moved. Meanwhile, Tim Roach's world started to collapse. David found out that one of Tim's former clients, another woman he'd fleeced, had filed a lawsuit against him months earlier. Once we sent over Lisa's paperwork, she added Lisa's name to her complaint. Now they were both in the crosshairs. By the end of the week, Tim's gym had been served papers. Lisa stopped posting on social media. Her out and free fantasy was falling apart. Fast. And me? I wasn't free yet, not technically. But I was getting there. Day by day. Move by move. I was no longer the man being betrayed. I was the man taking his life back. There's something eerie about watching your old life fall apart from the outside. Like standing across the street and watching a house you used to live in catch fire. You know where everything is, the framed photos, the drawer with the birthday cards, the echo in the hallway when it's raining outside, and now it's all turning to ash, and there's not a damn thing left to salvage. Except maybe yourself. After Lisa's visit, she stopped trying to contact me. No texts. No calls. No surprise show-ups. I think once she realized there was no emotional leverage left to squeeze, she gave up. Or maybe Tim's world was collapsing faster than even she expected, and she didn't have time to play the part of the grieving wife anymore. Either way, I didn't care. I had my own rebuilding to do. The condo, which once felt like a waiting room for a life that was happening somewhere else, started to feel more like mine. I got rid of the couch she picked out, the prints she hung in the hallway, even the throw pillows she insisted, tied the room together. One by one, her touches disappeared. I didn't replace them right away. I just cleared space. It felt good. Clean. I hired a real estate agent to handle the sale of our main house, the one we bought 10 years ago with dreams of family barbecues, kids we never had, a dog we never adopted. The market was strong, and the offer came in fast. Lisa tried to contest the split, but our prenup, one of the few things I insisted on back then, held firm. She'd get her share, but not a penny more. The rest stayed locked up under my name until the divorce finalized. David called me one night, voice low and cautious. "You're not gonna like this," he said. "What is it?" "She's been staying at Tim's place. But word is, they're already fighting. A lot." I almost laughed. Of course they were. Lisa thought she was trading up, walking away from some boring financial consultant into the arms of her personal trainer Prince. But real life doesn't care about abs and charm. It cares about overdue credit cards, unpaid rent, and lawsuits. And Tim Roach? He was drowning in all three. A few days later, Janice sent me a batch of discovery documents. Among them were two that stood out, a lease for a gym space under Tim's name, with Lisa as co-signer, and a forged signature on a loan request using our old Seattle address. I circled the signature in red and scanned it back to her. "This enough to press charges?" I asked. She replied in under 5 minutes, "Absolutely." I didn't want revenge. But I did want accountability. That weekend, I stopped by the storage facility. Lisa had sent a courier to pick up her things, but I needed to grab something of mine, an old watch, a journal, some files I hadn't touched in years. As I unlocked the door and stepped into the cold space, I noticed something odd. The box labeled "Photos, Us" was still there. I hadn't seen it since I packed everything away, and for a moment, I just stood there staring at it. I should have thrown it out, I thought. Or burned it. But instead, I opened it. Inside were years of our lives. Vacations. Birthdays. That one Christmas where the tree fell over because she insisted on a real one that year. I thumbed through the photos like I was flipping through someone else's story. And in a way, I was. Because that wasn't me anymore. That wasn't her anymore, either. I closed the box and left it on the floor. I didn't take it with me. By Monday, everything started moving faster. Lisa's lawyer reached out, offering a private negotiation meeting. Janice said I didn't need to attend, that she'd handle it, but I insisted. I wanted to see her face. We met in a downtown office tower, all glass and gray carpet, like most places designed to feel neutral. Lisa looked tired. Hollow. The kind of tired that doesn't come from a lack of sleep but from chasing the wrong dream too long. She tried to meet my eyes. I didn't let her. Her lawyer spoke first. My client would like to reach an amicable agreement and avoid court proceedings. Janice leaned in, calm as ever. Then your client should return the $47,200 she siphoned into Mr. Roach's business and formally disclaim any stake in our client's remaining assets. Lisa's jaw clenched. She opened her mouth to speak, but I finally looked at her and said, flatly, "Just sign it." To my surprise, she did. The meeting ended quietly. No shouting. No tears. Just signatures and silence. As we packed up, I watched her slip the pen back into her purse with trembling hands. She didn't look up again. As I left the building, Janice gave me a small nod. That was the cleanest end we could hope for. I nodded, then stepped into the elevator and took a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding for months. It was over. Or at least, the part of me that belonged to her was. The weirdest part. After everything, the lies, the financial games, the heartbreak, what I felt wasn't anger anymore. It was stillness. Peaceful, uncomfortable stillness. After the divorce papers were filed and the accounts were settled, I found myself standing in the middle of my new place, a small house tucked away in a quieter part of Seattle, near the water. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, creaky floors. It didn't have her touch, didn't carry the ghosts of our past. It was blank. Which, honestly, was exactly what I needed. Starting over at 50 wasn't something I'd planned on. But then again, neither was betrayal. Life doesn't care about your plans. It hands you a hammer, points to the rubble, and says, "Build again." So that's what I did. At first, it was the little things. I got up earlier. Made my own coffee, real coffee, not the overpriced blends Lisa used to buy. I stopped checking social media entirely. There was no point. Seeing her face, her new freedom posts, the filtered pictures of sunsets and salads and hashtag new beginnings, it didn't sting anymore. It just felt like noise. Tim's business folded not long after the documents hit the courts. Turns out, the lawsuits caught up with him. Word got around. The gym shut down. The website disappeared. He ghosted his clients. And Lisa? She disappeared with him for a while, no one really knew where she went. David told me she tried to withdraw a hardship fund from one of her solo retirement accounts, probably to bail him out. But the damage was done. Her career. On pause. Her image. Tarnished. Whatever new life she thought she was building, it didn't look like it was holding up under reality. I didn't feel joy in that. Just finality. One night, a few weeks after everything was finalized, I sat on the back deck of my new place with a glass of bourbon in my hand, listening to the wind move through the trees. And I realized something. This is the first time I've heard silence and not felt lonely. There was no one to perform for. No one to disappoint. No eggshells. No checking over my shoulder, wondering if I'd missed something, if I was being played again. Just me, and the quiet. And that quiet? It was loud with possibility. I picked up running again, something I used to love before long hours and marital tension wore it out of me. Signed up for a 5K. Started meal prepping for myself, not out of duty or guilt, but because I wanted to feel better. I reached out to old friends I hadn't seen in years. A few of them admitted they'd suspected something about Lisa, the distance, the coldness, the way she always steered conversations away from anything real. I wish they'd said something. But maybe I wouldn't have listened. I do now. There's this question people always ask after a story like this: would you take her back if she apologized? And the truth is, no. Not because I'm bitter. Not because I want to punish her. But because I'm not the same man she left behind. That man, the one who didn't want to rock the boat, who saw the signs and stayed quiet, who let someone slowly erase him while he told himself things were fine, he's gone. And good riddance. I learned something in all this: peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from facing it. Head on. With your eyes open. Lisa taught me that, the hard way. Do I forgive her? Eventually, maybe. Not for her sake, but mine. Because I don't want to carry her choices around with me anymore. She chose a new life. So did I. And here's the thing about starting over at 50, you don't do it because you want to. You do it because staying the same would be worse. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a man who got cheated on. I see a man who survived it. A man who rebuilt from the wreckage. A man who's finally free.